Hello, my name is Dave Burke. If you don't already know me, I'm a realtor with Extra Realty in the Bitterroot Valley. And I have a little hobby of doing a video update of the recent charts and graphs produced by our local multiple listing service that show the status of the market. And I like to do a little review of that with my interpretation of the charts and graphs. So let's take a look what's going on in the market this month. This first chart is a comparison between Ravalli County in the red and Missoula County in the blue box. And what I find interesting here is that in Ravalli County, the market has moved from a buyer's market last month now to a balanced market. And in Missoula County, it's moved from a balanced market up to definitely a strong seller's market. Although some of the subsequent charts we go through may contradict this. But right now, it's interesting to me that in Ravalli County, you got 5.73 months of inventory, which is probably why it's in a balanced market. And in Missoula, you got 3.89 months of inventory, which is probably why it's moving into a seller's market. And you can see in the days on market in Ravalli County, it's 72 days on market. And in Missoula County is 39 days on market. So it's definitely, those stats show that the markets are both heading sort of in the direction of a seller's market. These next charts give us a little more detailed look at the months of supply of inventory. You can see that in Ravalli County, the inventory of 5.73 follows what appears to be an uptrend in months of inventory over the last couple of 3 years. And you can see at the end that as we come to the coming months, if the trend line continues down and hits that bottom red line, and if it bounces up, that means that inventory is continuing to increase, which would put us into a buyer's market as inventory increases. And if the trend is broken on that line and we continue to have short with less inventory, then we'll probably be into a seller's market. And similarly in Missoula, you can see by those two blue lines that we're basically going up in inventory, which generally would indicate the buyer's market. But at the very end there, it looks to me like the trend is much stronger in the downward direction, breaking that bottom line, which would put us more into a seller's market. So I find that very interesting to see and project which way the market's going to go in either one of these counties. This next chart is the median estimated property value. Not a lot to look at here other than the fact that Ravalli County property is on average $35,500 less than the median in Missoula. And there on the top chart, the Ravalli chart, you can see that the Missoula trend line is the highest. The next one below that is the blue line, which is the Ravalli County. The next one below that is Missoula County, and the next one below that is the state of Montana in general. So we are basically living in sort of the upper value area of the entire state. This next chart is a comparison of the active listings between Ravalli County and Missoula County. I was surprised at this, that Ravalli County is $154,000 more than Missoula County. And you can also see that the price per square foot is higher in Missoula County than it is in Ravalli County by $33 per square foot. And then if you look at the trend lines in Ravalli County, we can see that the overall trend for active listings in Ravalli County has been going up generally for the last few years. And at the end there, you can see that if we blow it up and look at it, that if the trend continues up, we will be basically confirming that we're moving into a seller's market. And if it breaks down at that point, then we'll be getting back into a buyer's market. And the same thing goes for Missoula, in that if the trend could break either way, but now right at this 5 seconds, it looks like the trend would be going up for a seller's market. Again, this next chart on new listings was surprising to me because it shows that the median value of new listings in Ravalli County is 749,000 compared to 579,000 in Missoula County. That's $170,000 difference. And more importantly, is that the median of new listings at 749,000 is way below the 879,000 of active listings. So that would indicate that the market is sort of in a downtrend because new listings are representative more of what the current thinking is of people listing their homes in the current market. In the Ravalli chart, you can see the red line is slightly up compared to the blue dotted line of the Missoula trend line. But again, we're sort of in the same situation that if the trend line breaks up, we'll be into a seller's market as prices rise. If it breaks down, we'll be in a buyer's market. But it seems to be going fairly level at this point. And then down in the Missoula chart, you can see that it's really in a downtrend as far as new listing prices, which contradicts what the chart said when we first started, that they're in a buyer or in a seller's market. So this is a little confusing to me, but nevertheless, you can see that we're in the same spot. That uh, if the trend line breaks up, pricing rises, will be a seller's market. If they break down, we'll be in a buyer's market. This final chart was somewhat surprising to me in that it sort of reversed the median values between Ravalli and Missoula, in that Ravalli median sold listings is 500,000 and the sold listings in Missoula is 602,000. That's 102,000 difference, which is backwards from our previous discussion. May explain why the overall listing or the overall status of the market for Ravalli County is as a balanced market, whereas in Missoula it's in a seller's market. The other interesting thing here is that the percentage of sold to list in Ravalli is 95% versus Missoula 98%. So people are taking a little bit more of a hit in Ravalli County when it comes down to the final offers. And you can also see that the days on market in Ravalli is 72 days, where it's only 39 days in Missoula, which is a 33-day difference. And you can also see that the median price per square foot in Missoula is 302 compared to 318 in Ravalli. So maybe this chart sort of summarizes it, why that first chart shows what it did. But you can also see here that the trend line in the value of sold listings in Ravalli County is headed down. And again, you can see that at the end there may be a jump that would put it into a seller's market, or there's potentially a drop off that would put it in a buyer's market. In Missoula County, you can see that blue line that the market has been leveled to up as far as sold listings go. And this would indicate that, again, why probably the first chart we looked at showed Missoula into a seller's market as compared to the neutral market in Ravalli County. So my summary of this entire little dissertation sort of reverts back to the first chart that we looked at, showing that Ravalli County is in a balanced market and that Missoula County is really moving up to a seller's market. What that tells me, and just in my overall experience, in day-to-day experience in the business, is that I believe that regardless of all the little changes that some of those charts show that might make you think that the market doesn't reflect what's shown here in these charts, I think this is relatively accurate, that Ravalli County is in a balanced market, and that is that if you're going to list your property, you better have the right price. You don't want to overprice, because in that regard, you'll be chasing the market down if you don't have the right price to start with. And in Missoula County, you have a little more flexibility in getting the pricing right. And I don't think you're going to be having, multiple offers, chasing you up and up and up. But I think that Missoula is probably a little bit stronger market than Ravalli right at the moment. So I look forward to working with you. And if you have any more interest or any more questions about what's going on in the market, please don't hesitate to call me. That's Dave Burke, Exit Realty in the Bitterroot Valley, 406-802-4577. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to working with you.